So in this lecture, we are going to look at solution to the missing number coding exercise. So this is one of the most frequently asked questions on programming interview. So here we need to write a program to find the missing number in an array in any given programming language. So depending on the programming language you choose, you can write it in any programming language during the interview process. So as our course related to Java programming language, we are going to implement it in Java. So these kind of coding interview questions are not only asked in the small startups, but also some of the biggest companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft mostly ask this question when they visit the campus of reputed universities to hire graduates. So the question is, find the missing element in the array of 100 integer. So we have an array in which we have elements from 1 to 100. So we need to find the missing element in this array over here. So for simplicity, I'm going to implement this logic for 10 elements. So let's say we have an array like this, in which we have only 10 elements. So here we have elements from 1 to 10. Now in this array, we don't have any missing number. So let's say we have another array in which we have missing number. So as you see, from 1 to 10, 7 is missing in this array. So how can we find this based on these two arrays over here? So we know that if we sum up these elements from 1 to 10, the sum will be 55. And if we sum up the second array in which the 7 is missing, the sum will be 48. And the difference between them will give us 7. So this means that 7 is missing in the second array. So the logic is, if the number starts from 1 to 100, we are going to sum up them, and then we are going to sum up the array elements in which we have missing element. Then the difference between them will give us the missing number in the second array. So you might be interested that how can we sum up the integers from 1 to 100? So for this, from math, we know that we can calculate the sum of n series numbers by using this equation. So here n is the last number, in our case it's going to be 100, and the equation is like this: 100 multiplied with 101 divided by 2. So this will give us sum of integers from 1 to n. So for example, in case of from 1 to 10, 10 multiplied with 11 is going to be 110, divided by 2 is going to give us 55. So as you see, by using this equation, we can calculate the sum of integers from 1 to n. Now by using this equation, we can calculate the sum of the integers from 1 to 100. And by looping through the array and finding out the sum of the array elements, we can find out the sum of the elements in the array. Then the difference between these and the sum of the elements in the array will give us the missing number in the array. So based on this logic, let's implement it using Java. Now here I'm going to create our method which is finding the missing number in this array over here. So in this array we have 99 elements. So one element is missing in this array, so we need to find out the missing element. So I discussed the logic before, so I'm going to implement that logic over here. So to do so, I'm going to create our method like this. So it's going to be public void missing number. So as we said before, our elements starts from 1 to 100. So missing number is located between these two numbers. So this means that we should have 100 elements in our array. So in this case, we have 99 because one element is missing. So as a parameter of this method over here is going to take the array that we have over here. So I'm going to put it integer int array. So then inside this method, we are going to declare two variables. So in the first variable, we are going to save the sum of the elements of this array over here. And in the second variable, we are going to save the sum of the integers from 1 to 100. So initially, both of them will set to 0. So I'm going to create sum1 and set it to 0, and sum2 set it to 0. Then I'm going to loop through this array to find the sum of the elements of this array. So it's going to be like this: for int I, so we can write it like this, int array. Then we will sum up the elements of this int array over here and save this sum to this sum1 over here. So if you write something like this, it's going to loop through this array and sum up the elements of this array and save it to this sum1 variable over here. So with this, we have completed to sum up these elements of this array. Then we need to find out the sum of the elements from 1 to 100. So as we said before, we have equation for that. So equation will be n multiplied with n plus 1 divided by 2. So in this case, sum2 will be set like this, which is n. So in our case, n is 100. So 100 multiplied with 101 which will be 100 plus 1 divided by 2. So with this we are calculating the integers from 1 to 100. So as we said before, the difference between sum 2 and sum 1 will give the missing element in this array over here. So I'm going to create another variable which is called difference, and it's going to be set sum 2 minus sum 1. Then I'm going to print out to the console saying that missing number is this difference over here. So it's going to be like this: system.out.println, and I'm going to put message like this: missing number is, I'm going to concatenate this difference over here. So with this we have completed our method. So basically what we are doing over here, we are taking the sum of the elements of this array and we are taking the sum of the integers from 1 to 100. Then the difference between them gives the missing number in this array. So let's see how this is working in practice. So here I'm going to call our method inside this main method over here. So it's going to be like this: main.missing number. So as a parameter, it will take this int array over here. So it takes only one parameter, so that's enough. So if we run our code, you'll see that it will find out the missing element in this array over here. Now, after running it, you see that it says that missing element is 73. So basically, if we look at through this array, after 72, we see that 73 is missing, so it comes 74. So by using this method, we have found the missing element in this array over here. So hopefully everything is clear about this method. So by asking such kind of question during the interviews, interviewers are checking that whether you have a knowledge of math and how can you use this math equation in the problems like this. So hopefully everything is clear about this question. So see you in the next question.